Hey everyone, welcome to Saturday Night Popcorn. This is Jason.
And this is Kai. We have another great discussion for you today. Today's movie is In the Mood for Love. It's from 2000, so it's 22 years old. So if you haven't seen it, just want to give everyone a heads up that there will be some spoilers.
Yeah, some spoilers. 2000 is 22 years ago, but we are going to be talking about In the Mood for Love. So I'll kind of start you off. Kai, what did you like about the movie?
Well, we could start off by saying we have to re-record this episode
Oh,
just to
well, I
be
was trying to go into it like
just to be
I
very
made the
transparent.
mistake of messing up the recording we recorded yesterday, and it probably won't be the last time I do that, probably.
Fingers crossed it was.
But I'm pretty sure we'll make it out with this recording this time.
Not think it'll be good. But yeah, your question was what did I like about the movie?
Yeah.
Um, I really liked, so I have notes. I usually have some notes I type on my phone as I'm watching each movie. But what I have first is each shot felt like well thought out. It didn't feel like they had a shot in the movie just because they needed a shot. So I have that. I have Miss Chan's style. Like every outfit Miss Chan wore was like
Top
it's like,
notch.
yeah, it was like she was in a runway show, like
Yeah.
throughout the entire movie.
Yeah, we made the comment where it's like she's wearing all that stuff to go get noodles and everything.
Yeah,
Even in the movie they made that comment too.
like just to do the most like basic things, and she's wearing just an extravagant outfit, and you're like, what are you doing, lady?
Hey, sometimes you gotta dress nice just to walk down the street.
So I guess so. Even in the rain, like they had a whole rainy day, and she's just dressed to the nines. Like,
Yep.
come on. And then I have the color choices were beautiful. Like outside of her outfits, like her outfits always worked well with the colors in the surrounding area of the scene, and then the subtle dialogue. Like I think you and I spoke about it yesterday, but the fact that it was a foreign film, I think you and I went into it thinking that we were going to be reading a lot of subtitles on the screen throughout the entire movie, but in the case of In the Mood for Love, there wasn't much to read. Like you were able to actually focus on what they were showing you on the screen instead of having to focus on the little words on the bottom of the screen, and which typically takes away from what's being shown.
Yeah, I was in the same boat. Whereas I thought my eyes were going to be glued to the subtitles to kind of get what's going on in the scene. But I think it's true to the point where it's like you have a well shot movie, you have the colors within the movie and all that stuff. You can enjoy what the main characters are wearing because of the low amounts of dialogue. It seems like that there's not a lot of dialogue to read. It gives you sort of the context of what's going on, and then it allows you to enjoy what's going on in the scene after that. But I share the same sentiment where it's like the shots of the movie. It's a beautiful movie, and it's like
Mm-hmm.
you kind of know as to why it. I believe we kind of like landed on this movie because we wanted to integrate more foreign films or like more of like a wider range of films in our kind of like discussions within this podcast and stuff. So In the Mood for Love was the first one that we kind of landed on. But I think it came up on like 100 the on the list of like 100 best films, and it was
Yeah.
pretty high up in the list. And so, but myself, it's like I really enjoyed the story. Yeah, like the context and the what they added in to the mood of the film and everything. I enjoyed the use of isolation. It seemed like
Mm-hmm.
where you notice the two main characters like they kind of spend time by themselves. Where she goes and gets noodles by herself. Where the main character, Mr. Chow,
Mr.
right?
Chow, yeah.
Mr. Chow goes and eats there, the same kind of like food stalls where she go gets noodles. He goes and eats there by himself and stuff. So it's like it has this sense of like displays the isolation as two of these individuals that are having or finding out that their spouses are having an affair with each other's spouse, right? So
Yeah,
it's like this weird like they move in next to each other, but then their spouses are having an affair with each other while they're living next to each other and stuff. So I really enjoyed that aspect of it, and I think it allows you to enjoy the acting of the two main characters and
mhm.
just how much emotion they kind of put into each scene of them kind of tangling with like them kind of falling in love with each other, but then also fighting with the fact that like their spouses are having an
Like
affair.
forbidden love.
Forbidden, yeah, it's forbidden love for them, but then also their spouses are being the douchebags and having an affair with each other. But also that's kind of what kind of brought them together anyways too. So it's like it's kind of this odd kind of like the story behind it and stuff. And so and even the story down the road, it gets kind of like it doesn't end to the way you want it and or the way
Yeah.
I wanted this love story to end. But but
Well,
maybe it's like I hoped for the nice ending, but
they had a
it actually
forbidden love like throughout the whole movie.
yeah. Yeah. So and even it's funny because like it like I remember the whole scene where like remember like in the scene where like they 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 went to each other's room in that like in that kind of apartment building that they live in. But
Hmm.
then the other women or the other people in the apartment building decided to play mahjong forever. And so she couldn't leave the room because like,
Yeah.
oh, it's gonna show the like, oh, why were you in that dude's room and everything. I was
Hmm.
like, man, like she's like eating her food there, he's writing stuff, she needs to sleep and stuff. And it's like a whole day affair of just her
Just
trying to like
trapped.
figure out when to leave.
Yeah.
That was like I think that was a good scene. It's like looking back on that was a pretty interesting scene of like oh yeah like oh crap like we live around other people too and they're gonna judge
Hmm.
us for this
And if they
too.
find out, they're gonna tell our spouses.
Yeah, and then but like oh but our spouses have affairs with each other, so it's
Yeah.
like
It's like everything's out the window.
yeah. So I for me I really enjoyed this film and it's like there's a lot going well for it and stuff
Yeah.
and I think someone should not shy away from it being because of a foreign film.
I think there was one thing I forgot was I remember seeing clips and scenes and like screenshots from this movie, like because it's such a well-known and well-regarded film. I thought this movie was filmed in like the 90s or it's like the 80s, and to watch it and then find out it was filmed in 2000, but it was set in the 60s. It kind of gave it more context. It made more sense. But if you were just to see like a screenshot or a screen grab from this film, you wouldn't know that it was filmed in 2000. You would truly feel that it was filmed way before that.
Yeah, it at the very least late 70s, early 80s or something like
Yeah.
where it's like yeah, it does. I think the choices of I and I can ask you this. Do you think it's do you think this film or this movie was recorded on film, like actual like
Oh, for sure.
and not
Yeah.
digital, right?
Yeah.
Like because I
Like you
always kind of like
can't.
struggle with like that like concept of like film weight. Like I remember I
Mhm.
listened to I think we talked about it previously in like in a personal sense where it's like what like I listened to Quentin Tarantino on a podcast and
Yeah.
he was talking about like film real film has a weightiness to it. And I was like, I couldn't get that concept in my mind. It's like, what does that mean? But I
Mhm.
wonder if this is sort of like that's what I don't know. It's just it looks different.
No, I think this is a good, like if you were to think of something that has weight, like the film has weight, it's this movie. Because like I take photos and I have digital and film, and there's times even recently where I'll take both cameras. I'll take the digital camera to do like a reference photo so I can get the settings kind of dialed in on the digital so I'm not wasting a film
Mhm.
shot. And then I'll take the same or a similar photo with the film camera. And then once I'm done with the roll, I'll get it developed and I compare the two and you can truly see the difference. There's like I don't know, there's like a dreaminess to film. Like there's imperfections that you can't replicate with digital. Digital is just like clinically sharp, especially cameras now. Like a lot of people that shoot digital try to emulate film. So they'll put a filter on, they'll
Mhm.
uh, edit their footage in a certain way to try to give that film feel. But I don't think there's really a way to fully or truly replicate film. There's just something about the negative when you get that back and the look of it.
It almost kind of gives it its own character, right? Even though you could
Yeah.
essentially have the exact same image on film and digital, the
Hmm.
film is just you're gonna notice that that's different.
Yeah. Even the lenses, like you can use the same lens, like the digital camera I use. I can use the lenses I use on my film camera as well. But even that, like it doesn't, they still don't compare.
I feel like I'm at the start a new hobby of taking film photography and
Do
taking
not.
that on.
It is, don't do it. It's expensive.
It's just
It's fun. I would just say get a digital camera and just try to replicate it as best as you can.
but you said it doesn't.
Yeah, it's not the same, but it's like there's some cameras that make it's close, but it's not the same.
As with every hobby, probably there's always a deep hole that you can dig financially,
Exactly.
most likely.
Exactly. And you do not want to get that hole.
Maybe I don't know. Maybe I want to, but I can ask you this. Our
Mhm.
typical next question is there
Yeah.
anything that you didn't like about the movie?
Uh yeah, there's only two things. Like the movie was really good. But the first one is the pacing. The pacing of the movie was slow. When we spoke about this before, I was letting you know that I had started watching this movie like 2 to 3 times before I actually was able to sit and like fully give all my attention to it. And I think a part of that was just the pacing. Like I was so used to movies now that are just like action packed or something happening every second, where this one was really slow. You're watching these two people figure out that their spouse, like two married people, figure out that their spouses are cheating, and then figuring out that, oh wait, your spouse is cheating with my spouse, and then you're watching them build like an emotional connection, and that is all like slowly progressing, and yeah, and that's not typical for movies now. So that took me time to kind of rewire my brain just to be like, hey, sit here and just watch this movie and
Yeah,
enjoy
just
it.
take it in. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was my one dislike, which isn't even a bad thing. And then the second one was the end. The end just felt abrupt. Like they had a time jump and then they had some like archival footage and then a child is shown and then it's like, okay, movie's over, the end. And you're like, wait, what? Who's that kid? Why'd
Yeah.
you show me archival footage? What happened? Like, what? Give me more. And yeah, there was no more.
I guess that's a good thing about this film, where it's like you're asking for more. You're like, "Well, where's part two? Huh?"
Yeah.
But I get it. I get it. Where it's like, but my one thing when I came out of the theater, I was like, or certain points in the movie, where I was like turning to my girlfriend, I was like, where are we in the timeline of this kind of relationship? Is there's
Mm,
sometimes where it looks like it goes to a past portion of their relationship, but then you're like, oh no, that was actually just the next event in their relationship. So it's like you believe it went to the past, but it didn't actually. So it's like a little times where I was like there questioning myself. It's like, where are we in this kind of like relationship timeline?
Yeah.
Where at the end you kind of find out that like yes, it chronologically goes it just kind of like back to back where until it gets to those time jumps where it goes a few years into the future at like there's like two separate time jumps and so that's sort of one gripe or like the main gripe I had where it's like I was a little confused by the story in terms of like whether or not it was kind of showing earlier portions of the relationship where it's like or is it the next portion of the relationship, so it's like that's where but maybe I kind of said it yesterday, maybe if I rewatched it again I would kind of have a I would kind of know what the story's going to lay out, but then you can kind of then figure out all right, this is another like kind of like I'm understanding it more clearly now on a second watch.
Yeah.
And so
You'll be able to
that's
focus on something different.
yeah, I think so. Where like at first it's like I'm taking in everything and all that stuff, and at the end, I was like, I don't think that child is from the Forbidden Love. I think,
I don't
sadly, I don't know. I that like I said, I didn't it didn't end the way I wanted to end, but
know.
she it seems like she went back to her regular spouse
Or her husband.
and kind of her husband and kind of lived life, and I took it as like that was their child, but there is a possibility because it was an older child, so there is a possibility that that
Hmm.
was from, or maybe like she met him up at some other point in their lives and stuff, and did the duty and stuff, and then went along with their lives. I don't know. But yeah, more questions than answers at the end, where it's
Yeah,
like what
honestly.
happened? Like, is the guy sad now? Like, is he just living by himself? He just left his wife. He didn't give a crap.
Oh yeah, he moved to a whole new country. I'm just like, all
Yeah.
right, whatever. She'll figure it out.
Well, yeah. Well, he figured it out. So,
Yeah, he figured it out for the both of them.
well, we can get to the rating. As we always say, we use this app called Letterbox, and it's a way we can kind of track the movies that we watch on a daily basis, sometimes on a daily basis. So we
Yeah,
watch
sadly.
more than one movie in a week. So and
Mm.
so they use a star system. So it's like one being sort of like a not so good movie or the worst movie that you ever seen, and five being the best movie you ever seen. And so you kind of have everything in between. But I can ask you, Kai, what rating did you give in the mood for love?
Yeah. So I actually changed it
You changed it.
originally. Yeah, I had it I had it at 3.5. But then after we spoke, I was like, okay, I really did enjoy this movie. And so I changed it from a 3.5 to a 4.
You wanted to copy me. Just take my rating.
Just a little bit, just a little bit.
Hey, what's funny is that like we've been fairly consistent on like rating
Yeah,
the films that we watch at the same rating. So it's like we kind of know what we like
yeah.
and how we kind of ingest the movie anyways too.
And we
So
like similar things.
yeah, yeah. And we've known each other for a long time. So
Yeah.
it's like we know what movies we are gonna like, what movies we're not gonna like. But as Kai said, four. My rating was also 4 stars, and I'm also like I'm enamored by. I'm like trying to figure out like why did I give it 4 stars when I loved it so much and everything. So I think I will need another run through of the movie to kind of like at least confirm my 4 stars or give it more or less. I don't know. You never know. Maybe in a
I'm
different mood at
surprised
that
you didn't
moment.
give it 4.5, honestly.
Yeah, me too. I don't know. Maybe I changed mine just to kind of be different too.
Hey,
But well, yeah, it's a very good movie,
yeah, it is. It really is.
and I think we talked yesterday where it's like this can be a stepping stone into foreign films because I think
Yeah.
people are so scared, or I don't know, maybe some people can take an app be seen as like foreign films. It's like, oh, I gotta read subtitles or something, or I'm gonna have to pay attention to the subtitles. Where this one's an enjoyable story. It's it's a beautiful movie and stuff, and good acting too.
Hmm.
And I think it could be a very good segue into the multitude of films under the foreign banner and stuff, and and be that first initial film that someone can say that's my first foreign film. You never know.
Yeah.
Yeah. But our typical last question that we ask each other is, would you add this movie to your personal movie collection?
I would, but I think I would watch it a second time before I purchase it.
Just to see if it should garner that space on the shelf.
Just to see if I can give it a 4.5. What about you?
I would definitely purchase this film, and we talked about it yesterday. It's part of the Criterion collection,
Yeah.
and I think I may spend some money. I think that's my vice or hobby that I'm gonna dig my financial hole into. But I think definitely I will buy this movie, and anybody that comes over is gonna be told about the movie. That I may not be able to sell it so well to somebody as to like I may not be able to like get my thoughts into words when someone is asking about what does In the Mood for Love kind of convey as a movie and stuff. But I think when someone asks like, oh, you watch a lot of movies, like what's a movie you would recommend? I think In the Mood for Love is something that like you should always kind of like pop in someone's mind as to like whether or not they want to. I think yesterday we kind of alluded to that it's more of like it's a romantic film,
Yeah.
but it's different. It
It's
hits you
toxic.
different.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just hits you different and stuff. And I'm not one for like romantic films. I can care less for all that stuff. But this don't tell my girlfriend that does not bode well for my girlfriend. But but it's a very enjoyable film. And I will tell anybody that if they want to watch a different movie that's not a blockbuster like action film or a rom-com or a comedy or anything like that, that if they want to watch something different, then I think In the Mood for Love is one to talk about.
Yeah. I agree.
Well, you want to take us out?
Yeah. Thanks for joining us for another episode of Saturday Night Popcorn. I'm Kai.
And I'm Jason, and we'll be back next week for another one.